Welcome to part 3 of this lecture series. So in the first part, we went through the very initial parts of preliminary analyses, preparing our data, getting ready for M+. And part 2, we ran the M+ model and talked about the results and worked through some challenges in running that model. And now in this part, we're going to write up our results. So I'm going to show you how to do tables and figures in these results. So if you remember way back in multivariate statistics, I had sent you a resource that was the ACOC tables. If you Google ACOC, A-C-O-C-K, Oregon, you will find the website to these tables. And in this website, he has a structural equation modeling table all ready for you to do for any tables you're going to do for running structural equation models. So if we open that up, we'll get the copy of his tables, and we'll be able to develop a table from this. Now, for doing structural equation models, you can either do a table or a figure. Typically, you would not do both. Which one you do kind of depends a lot on you as author preference, and sometimes also on the journal, because sometimes journals, because if you do a figure, you're only going to show the beta weight, so this, usually the standardized weight, or standardized value, as well as the p-value. You're not going to get the unstandardized and standard error, which some journals really want you to show. So in here, he gives some references for you about reporting. So he has like reporting analysis of covariance structures, and there's a book here on presenting your findings. So he has some good resources here for you. And then he also has an example of a figure. This figure is a little outdated with the way that he developed it. I'm going to show you how to develop the figure that's going to be a little bit more clean and look better. And then lastly, here's the table. So we can take this table, just as he did here, and we can copy it, and we can go over to our document where we're going to be creating our table and paste it in. You want to make sure that when you paste it in, you keep source formatting. If you keep source formatting, it's going to be just like this. So here's table 1, unstandardized, standardized, and significant levels for model in figure 1. If you have like a figure that, typically you'll have a figure showing your empirically tested model like I showed you in the last lecture. And then you can have standard errors in parentheses, or you can put standard errors in a different way, like you have it in its own column. Most journals now, what they want you to do instead of this p-value is actually have this one be your standard error column, and that you use the asterisk for p-values. So in this case, we would eliminate this part here, and then we'd have our n, and our n in this one, I'm forgetting how many we had in here. I'd have to go back to SPSS to double check how many people we had. So I'm just going to leave this as is for now. Where'd M+ go? There we go. I'm going to leave this 318 here for now. Or what I normally do is put like an XXX to remind me to go back and check. Oh, this is the wrong one. Do an XXX here to remind myself to go back and double check that number. So this would normally be your standard errors. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete out these values, and then you're going to have the parameter estimate. This is helpful to do the parameter estimate because then you can put everything in here. You can put the errors in here. Most journals don't want you to put the errors. That's the residual column. So if we go over to model over here, the residual column here is what these errors are over here. Most journals don't care to see those, so you can typically delete those out. So here's the measurement model estimates, then you have the covariance, and then you have the structural model. So the structural model, if you remember, that is the actual model results, and then the measurement model, that is your CFA. So measurement model estimates is that piece. Some journals don't like you to use the measurement and structural models because not everybody remembers those. So some of them will ask you to put in do the confirmatory factor analysis estimates. And I actually like to prefer to do this the other way around. So what I prefer to do, I'm going to go ahead and delete these out. And I want to put in view my grid lines so I can see where these grid lines are. I like to be able to see those grid lines while they're not there. And you can see we have what's going on here. You can see we have some like extra spaces in here. But so what we put here is, we can put, structural model estimates. Spell that right. And then here we would put, this would then be your like measurement model, but I like to try and be more clear to my audience, and I'll put confirmatory factor analysis estimates. Depending on the journals, some will like you to keep structural measurement, but I prefer to kind of do this way around. And then if you remember, it kind of had, it just had the arrows to show the paths. So what we would do with that is we would say, like, let's go up here to our results here. Here is our path I'm highlighting right here. Those are the path results. So we would have in here relationship quality. Why are you like subscripting? Don't do that. All right. Relationship quality, and then if you do 2 dashes and an arrow and then a space, that'll give you an arrow. So relationship quality to negative child behavior. We can make that, hopefully make this a little bit wider so it fits on one line. There we go. And then our other one was parental engagement, again, to negative child behavior. And then we can have our with statement, which would be parental engagement with relationship quality. Now, if you remember with the model that he had, I'm going to kind of go back so you can see this. Here's the covariance husband and wife conflict. So he actually had in there that he had in covariance here on this line. Most people will understand that these are a regression coefficient. This is the correlation. But you can put in here correlation for parental engagement with relationship quality, or you can put in and here, and that'll be clear that this is the correlation from our standardized results. Covariance would be the unstandardized, which would be over here. So it'd be fine to put correlation or covariance here, and it would also be fine to put in the with statement because that does communicate that this is a covariance. And so those are our structural model results. We're not going to put in any of the residuals or the intercepts. Those are not necessary for most journals. If they ask for it, then we can put it in. So I'm going to delete those columns, and then we have our confirmatory factor analysis. And then that piece, one other thing here, you want to kind of like just space these over a few to kind of indent them in here, and then you can do the same thing here. As you can if we put them all on one line, there we go. There we go. Now everything's on one line. So here's the confirmatory factor analysis. So we're going to do, each of these. Oh, where's it? There's our confirmatory factor analysis estimates in here. So we can have, RQ1, or actually this is the other way around. Or actually, a better way to do this, and do confirmatory factor analysis estimates for all this. You can do confirmatory factor analysis estimates, for, we can do one at a time here. So the first one would be relationship quality. And then here we can just have our RQ1, RQ2, RQ3, RQ4, RQ5, RQ6, and then we would copy this over and then do the same thing. Estimates for, instead of relationship quality, it's parental engagement, and we need to add in a bunch more lines here, and then that's just going to be parental, just for terms of making this a little bit more brief, I'm just going to go P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. I wouldn't leave it as these like RQ1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and P1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would label them something that makes more sense to kind of like identify what the item was. Like if you remember, item 3 was the criticism. So instead of RQ3, I would write criticism. So I'd find a word that encapsulates that specific item rather than doing the RQ1, 2, 3, 5, 6, because this is meaningless to readers because these are the variable names I used in the analysis. But rather you want to use names that are more meaningful for this. So there are the pieces there. I can delete this last cell here. It got rid of my bottom border, so I'm going to put that bottom border back. There we go. And now I'm ready to input my values here. So if you remember, we need to make sure that all of these columns are centered on the decimal. And it looks like they should be, yes. So now we just need to translate the values over. So we're going to go over here and find the values. I like to go straight down through, so I'm going to start with RQ1 for relationship. That's going to be this value right here. And then you just copy them down. 0.47, and this is, you know, at the 0.001 level, and then 0.59, 0.46, 0.66, 0.75, 0.72. And all of these are significant at the 0.001 level. And then I'm going to continue down, straight down my line. If you can follow along on the left here, I'm just going straight down as I do this. So 0.44, 0.51, 0.74, 0.69, and then 0.41. And all of these are significant as well at the 0.001 level. All right, and then we can do our value here, so negative 0.17 and negative 0.15. I'm organizing this table, and these are also 3. I'm organizing this table in a way that follows my results orders, so it makes it really easy to copy values over. And then this one is 0.30. And then for the, those are all, these are the unstandardized, so I made a mistake here. These go over here. And then let's do our standard errors that are next to them. So again, I'm going to start at RQ1 so I can just follow my results straight down the line as I round to 2 decimal places. Oops. Looks like I was in the wrong spot. I don't know how that happened. You probably saw as I was doing this. All right, 0.03. What was that? 0.03, 0.02, 0.03, 0.02, 0.02, and then 0.03, 0.03, 0.03, 0.03, 0.03. Oh, they're all 0.03. And then for my results, 0.04, 0.04. Oh, they're all 0.04. And so there's the standardized put in. To go to the unstandardized, we got to move up on our file and go to the model results because those are our unstandardized results. And so then we'll input our unstandardized results here. So we have 1.00, 0.89, 0.93, 1.17, 1.25, 1.35, 1.00, 1.49, 2.63, 2.73, 1.18. And there we have our unstandardized for that piece there, and then for relationship quality it's negative 0.20, negative 0.08, and then our covariance is 0.05. And so there we go. We have our unstandardized results, our standardized, and our standard errors. We have our p-values here. The last thing we need to do is take care of our note down here at the bottom where we need to input, we need to input this p is less than 0.05. So reminding our readers what our p-values mean. Make sure that's italicized. And then you end with the period. And then I can just copy this and paste a couple times, and then just change this to 2 asterisks, and this will be 0.01, and then to 3 asterisks, and this would be 0.001. And then we need to take care of our model fit. So if we go up to our model fit on our M+ file, we can go over and fill in what our model fit. So our chi-square right here is going to be 160.14 with 52 degrees of freedom. So 52 degrees of freedom, and that's 160.14. P is less than 0.01, and then we're not using GFI or NFI. These are kind of old model fit indices from other programs. Rather, we're going to use RMCA. We are going to use that one, and it's going to be 0.04. And we're going to have a confidence interval. Oh, it looks like caps lock's on. So our RMCA is from 0.03 to 0.05. And then we can do our CFI, which equals 0.95, and then our TLI, which equals 0.94, and then lastly our SRMR, which equals 0.04. And there is our note with our model fit and our p-values on here. I'm going to take off the view grid lines. Can you see? You can see what this table looks like. The only other thing is most journals like tables to be double spaced. So let's just change this to spacing to double. Make sure it still fits on one page. It does not. And so because of that, I would keep it single spaced. And then we just need to take care of our p-value. Or not our p-value, our n. Lastly, we need to take care of our n value here. So to figure that out, I just need to open up the SPSS file that had my data in it and see how many participants I had. And I can see that by going to the data view and scrolling all the way down. And I can see that I had 1318, so 1,318 participants. So 1,318, 1318 participants. And there we go. There's my table. You can do this quite simply. You can see did this in about 10-15 minutes to input all of the values in here and put in. So we have all of our results for our confirmatory factor analysis, so our measurement model as well as our structural model for our tables. Alternatively, if you wanted to, instead of doing a table, you wanted to do a figure. Let's show you how we do that figure. So what I would do is I would pull up my figure that I made in PowerPoint. So do your figures in PowerPoint, not in Microsoft Word, because PowerPoint is much better to do that. Alright, so here is my PowerPoint slide that I had created that has our model right in there. You can see in here I have my original conceptual model, I have my original tested model, and then I just copied this and pasted it down and put in the final model after we got rid of that middle variable. So in order to do this, you would just put in on each of these arrows the standardized value along with its p-value. So in order to do that, I'm going to need some more room here in between these factor loadings. So I'm going to move these around a bit so I have enough room in these factor loadings to include, in order to include some values here. And what I have done also is I have set up this file. If you go to your slide design, so go design and go to slide size and then go to custom. If you make this portrait and letter paper size, it's going to translate straight over into Microsoft Word because it's the exact same size, and all of this font is in Times New Roman 12. So I know that if I take this and copy it over into Microsoft Word, it goes right over. Some journals will ask you for any figures, such as this one, that you actually do it as like a GIF. And so doing it again in Microsoft PowerPoint makes this much easier to put into a GIF, or into a, not a GIF, into a like dot, into a picture file. This makes it much easier to do that. So now I have all of these arrows set. So now I just need to add in my values. What I did over here in my table, I just need to add onto my figure. So to do that, you'd go to Insert, and you're going to insert a text box. So I'm just going to throw one on here. And what I'm going to do is go point, or because we have a negative sign here, we'll go point negative, and I'm just going to do an XX in place of the numbers, and then 3 asterisks. And I'm going to make sure that this is Times New Roman 12-point font, and that it is big enough to fit all of that with the box just as it is. And then I'm just going to simply take this box, copy it, and then I'm going to paste it and throw it on each of my areas where I have any kind of any of my arrows, so that I can place my values next to them. And what I suggest when you're doing these in this area down here is you put all of your values on the same sides of the arrows so that it's easy to tell which values belong to which arrows. So we're going to go through and put all of these in. It looks like I need to move this one just a little further up so that there's room here. Put this one right here. And now all I need to do is fill these values in from either the SPSS file or this table. So if I was looking at the SPSS file, which is typically what we'd be doing here, is I'd go down to my standardized results. Now I remember they were all 0.001 level, so I can leave all these 3 asterisks in, and then get rid of that one. And then I can just simply add in here my values. So this was my relationship quality to negative child behavior, so that's negative 0.17, and then this one is negative 0.15, and then I can, this is the with statement, it's not negative, and this is 0.30, and I can continue through and fill in the rest of all of these pieces here. So we'll go, this is parental engagement here. I'm starting backwards, I'm starting at the bottom, so 0.41, 0.69, 0.74. This would be easier if I went straight down instead of going backwards. 0.51, 0.44, and then relationship quality is 0.47, 0.59, over 3.46. 0.66, 0.75, and 0.72. So there we have our figure is done here. The only thing we would need to do when we copy it over, so I'll show you how to copy it over here real quick too. So you just highlight everything, hit your copy, so Control C, go over to your Microsoft Word file. So here we're going to put in our figures. So now figures, the caption goes at the bottom. So we put figure 1, structural equation model results. And then we would just copy this in. You can kind of see there's a few different ways to copy it in. If you keep source formatting, it kind of, or other things, it just kind of like throws things everywhere. So it's usually best to copy it in as a picture. Oops. Copy it in as a picture. There we go. And then the other thing here is you can move this picture around. You can center it so it's nice and pretty and centered. And there's our model. Because we did it in PowerPoint, letter size, a slide, and using 12-point font, everything copies in here nice and clean. And then with our model results, we would include in here, we would include our model fit. We include these same things we included up in our table under our caption for our, instead of doing note, you would say model fit indices are, and then you'd have your model fit there. So there you have it. I've created a figure to display my results, and I've also created a table. Typically you do one of these two, not both, but I wanted to show you each of those. For writing up the results, I'm not going to go through writing up the results, but rather I would suggest that you look at the 3 example papers I've posted for you to read through, because that'll show you how to go through and report results for structural equation models. I just wanted to make sure I showed you how to create the tables or create a figure for these results, and then also show you how to run a structural equation model from the beginning all the way to where you're starting to report results. So at this point, go ahead and make sure you go to the readings and look through those.